everyone, and a very happy Saturday. Welcome to Connect with Yasmine. My name is Yasmine-Imani McMorrin, and I'm so honored to be running to represent you in Culver City Council. During the day, I serve as the Interim Dean of Students and Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at USC Gould School of Law. And for our city, I serve as the Vice Chair of the General Plan Advisory Committee, and I also serve on the Equity Strategic Planning Committee for our school district. My run is basically, I want to make sure that Culver City is a place where whether you work, live, or play here, you're met with a community and you're just welcome, right? An inclusive community. And we want to make sure that we're keeping equity at the core and at the center of all of our policies and budgets. So the intention of creating these Connect with Yasmine events is to have quick, 15, 20-minute conversations surrounding issues that I care about, are central to the campaign, and are going to help, the future of Culver City. So if you're tuning in, I would love for you to share the hashtag Team Yasmine and vote McMorrin. We want to make sure if you're able and you'd like to go ahead and share this feed out. Share it, either do a watch party on Facebook or, just do a quick share to your followers, because we're always trying to get the word out about the campaign. We'd really appreciate it. So yes, today we are so excited and honored to have a friend come and speak with us. So we have today José Trinidad Castaneda. And we actually met about, I think, two years ago at a New Leaders Council interview. New Leader, we both eventually went through NLC. I now serve on the governing board, and NLC is basically a progressive leadership fellowship, and they train leaders in the LA County area. So I think it's pretty cool, and I think it's really awesome that I get to meet great folks like José. So welcome, José. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy that you are running, that you are fighting the good fight and getting these ideas out there so that way you can bring real change for your communities.
Thank you, José. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background and your entry point to this sort of climate work that you're so well known for? And I remember, the interview process, you were talking about like permaculture design and sort of all this in really cool climate work. So tell us a little bit about how you got here, and yeah.
Oh, well, thank you again. And I guess José Trinidad in a nutshell starts growing up near the freeway. And growing up, I actually had both asthma and bronchitis and a host of other health issues that were related to respiratory illness and the lack of clean air. And so growing up, I really didn't know that my health was heavily tied to my environment. But come around and once I learned about it, and I learned about issues of environmental injustice and environmental racism, that's when I started connecting the dots. And it led to a much more broader engagement in the environmental movement. I started looking at, where is our water safe and clean to drink? Is our air clean to breathe when we run and go for a bike ride? And so some of these questions, just basic quality of life questions that people really shouldn't have to ask. People have a right to a good quality of life. But here I was asking them at a young age. And so I got more involved. And it eventually turned into my career, where now I'm the Orange County organizer with the Climate Action Campaign. And my goal is really to get all of us, all of our communities and cities, to 100% safe, clean, renewable energy, safe, clean drinking water, more parks, and a better way to use our land, and making sure that people have shelter and housing to weather the very large swings in weather and climate change that are to come.
Yeah, that's incredibly important work. And, things that I definitely care deeply about. And so, what is your blue sky? Like, what is that? And I know you've mentioned a little bit about some of the goals of the organization, but what is your blue sky? Do you think we'll get there?
Well, definitely we have a monumental task of adapting our world to the changes that will come. And part of that has to do with making sure that we're good and we're grounded. And I think that has to start with food. I think that all of us as humans just come together and connect with each other through food. And if our food is insecure, our food supply is insecure in the future, then we are not going to be as connected with each other. So definitely, if you're curious, Google the word permaculture. It's actually a specific set of ideas on how to live sustainably and regenerate the land, not just to live sustainably where we're at now, but to bring back the health of Mother Earth. And so I actually got certified in permaculture design with the goal that wherever there's dry brown grass lawn or a dying turf, to turn it into a food garden or some sort of edible landscape where we're not having to worry about harms or just threats to our food supply, because it'll be local and it'll be organic and it'll be right outside our doors. And so starting with food, but of course, moving on to making sure that we have safe, clean, and reliable drinking water for generations to come. Not many people know that a raindrop that falls on the ground today, actually, if it percolates into the soil and the groundwater table, it'll become the drinking water for generations 20 years from now. So the rain today has a huge impact down the road. And of course, you're all involved with clean energy in your area. I think we can do better and make sure that future homes and buildings are 100% electric, so we can really get to 100% decarbonization of our entire energy and transit system.
For sure. So here in Culver City, we have joined the Clean Power Alliance, and so that's awesome. And shout out to our council, which made it happen. And so, what other ways can we ensure that our residents and businesses have access to renewable energy?
Absolutely. So definitely, even within Clean Power Alliance, there's still room to advocate for more bold policies that'll get us to 100% faster. And whether it's encouraging people or incentivizing people to take part in a solar plus battery storage program where they're using their homes to create a virtual power plant or microgrid in their area, that'll really make sure that our energy supply is local or locally generated. And some of this, well, not some, but all of this takes money, and it takes financing from somewhere. And so looking to what other community choice aggregation programs have done, I think Peninsula Clean Energy is a great example where they were rated with a Moody's grade investment rating or investment grade credit rating. And that opens up a huge amount of funding for them to look at even more benefits and community programs through their CCE program. And so that's something that Culver City can leverage by advocating from within Clean Power Alliance, but also just in terms of energy, a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, I would say a substantial majority in every city across California come from the transportation sector. And so if we're able to leverage even more financial incentives and rebates for electric vehicle adoption, or even better, not even requiring the use of a car for those first to last mile trips, and getting more like getting a bike or electric bike or alternative mode of transit is even better. So you don't have that impact of those rare earth minerals that we're having to mine from across the world in third world countries just to get us the electric vehicles.
So in the era of Zoom, there is something going on outside of the house right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that alarm. So it just stopped, thank God. So I apologize for that. I hope folks were able to hear your response. I'm definitely always, we have our expo line. And when I did go to work, when I actually physically went to work, I love taking the train to work. And we're always concerned about the first last mile, right? Making sure that folks can have, safe ways to travel and they can get to, get to our trains and maybe microbuses. Like all these ideas have been percolating and our communities have been thinking about them. But when we're thinking about climate action campaigns and the specific goal set, like something that we might be able to do, especially with the general plan, 50% transit by biking and walking, 100% clean energy like we spoke of before, zero waste. How would setting specific climate goals help Culver City?
Absolutely. And so you are all very lucky because you're in the middle or at the very start of a very significant process within a city that's called the general plan update. And so a general plan update happens every couple of decades and maybe even longer with some sparse updates between. And the reason why it's so significant is that this is a really huge opportunity for climate and environmental activists to get engaged, because the general plan is that you're able to introduce legally binding requirements for the city to abide by, and making sure that the city staff monitor progress and share those updates with the public so that on a year or every other year basis how many greenhouse gas emissions are being reduced through greater and greater programs and actions that the city is taking. And so one of the ways to go about it is by advocating for a bold climate action plan where it requires the city to include a greenhouse gas inventory where you can see how much carbon pollution the city is producing according to sector, and also introduce the things that we need by increasing the standards and regulations for reducing those carbon emissions. And that's something that has been taking place in different cities. You can follow the city of San Diego for the nation's first and boldest climate action plan that includes those stringent 100% clean energy adoption rules. So it's just one idea. I see that there's a question with the Clean Power Alliance. And so just to clarify what that is for anyone who's watching, the Clean Power Alliance is a not-for-profit government program that the city of Culver City, as well as LA and surrounding cities, I think 32 member agencies total, joined together to create. And so they actually buy cleaner and renewable energy for you compared to what you would have had under your previous investor-owned utility, SoCal Edison. And they pass along those cost savings to you as a customer. And then they also reinvest any revenue into your community through different programs. And so that's just a Clean Power Alliance in a nutshell.
For sure. Thank you for that. So I know we're coming up on our time, but I definitely wanted to, housing is really important and deeply important to me, especially investing in affordable housing. So how can you connect the dot for me or for our audience? Like, what is the link between affordable housing and climate change, and how can, we push and be more specific in connecting that dot for our community? So if you care about climate, then you also care about affordable housing. Can you help explain that or make that causal link a little bit more clear for us?
Absolutely. And so I guess I have to thank you, because as the vice chair of the General Plan Advisory Committee, you really have a large voice in helping to shape the land use policies that are a large majority of that general plan update. And when it comes to climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, one of the things that we haven't been looking at very closely is the greenhouse gas emissions from the building sector. So the housing and the commercial buildings that use natural gas now, they can be electrified to reduce emissions in the future. But also there's a housing crisis and a housing affordability crisis especially. And so really building more housing is one of the key ways to tackle the housing crisis. It's not the only way, but it is the key way because there's so many different kinds of housing. There's permanent supportive housing, there's low income and missing middle housing that goes beyond just the market rate. And so when you are thinking about areas to zone and look at the land use and scrutinize what it's being used for now, we like to put housing near jobs and transit centers, because if people are relying more on walking and biking and other forms of transit that aren't single occupancy combustion engine cars, then we're able to really take a bite out of the carbon emissions that we're producing. So I hope that's helpful. I think that the housing affordability crisis is also a climate crisis as well. And just to wrap it up very quickly, a couple years ago, it was about 118 degrees in my city. And I volunteer on our fire department's community emergency response team. And so all day during that massive heat wave, families with young children, elderly and retired, seniors with no air conditioning, and then also, of course, people without homes and homeless people were passing out in the street, and they were coming to our cooling center, our community center, where I was giving them first aid treatment because hospitals and emergency rooms were already full with other people experiencing heat exhaustion and heat stroke. So having a home is critical, and we're going to talk about the climate crisis as well.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that. Is there anything else that you want to share with us? Any other tips for sort of a smaller city like Culver City, or anything else that you'd like to share with us here?
I'm really excited about what is happening where your city is reclaiming the streets for people. And it's really heartening to see. I'm really inspired by some of the images that are coming out from Culver City. So I say keep up the good work with that. It's going to be huge and very attractive if you continue down that road of opening up the roads for people and for businesses like that. So keep it up on that. If you live on a single family property, or you have even any small amount of lawn and turf, consider changing it to a garden or even native plants. Help clean up the air right at your own doorstep and your own window. So I'll leave it at that, but you can follow me for more information on Twitter at Jose T. Castaneda 3, or my website. My website has all the links, josetrinidadcastaneda.com as well.
Awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate you taking time to share your story and your expertise with us today. It's funny, I don't have a single family, but I just recently became a homeowner. So one of the first things I want to do with my patio area is plant a little garden out and a little planter. So there's always little things for us to do. So thank you so much for sharing and spending time with us. So we're wrapping up now. Thank you all so much for spending a little bit of your Saturday with us. Just so you know, November will be upon us sooner than we think. I can't even believe it's August 1st. Where is the time going? But Thank you for being here. Donations and support is always welcomed and encouraged. You can visit us at votemcmoran.com. We'll make sure to have up this link just in case you want to share it with folks who weren't able to be here live with us. Again, we are all in this together. We really, really appreciate you and your time. And thank you so much. And take care. Be well. Wear a mask. And do what you can to help our planet. Thank you so much, you guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.